And what she mentioned is that these topics are interrelated, and I'll be your facilitator for today and also tomorrow to cover the topic of root cause analysis, which is just a continuation of what you began. So maybe just for purpose of introduction, I said my name is Rhoda Wairiuko. I'm a HR practitioner. I partner with ACHRP in terms of the training, and I've been conducting trainings for them, and I've interacted probably with some of you. But for the people that we have not met, welcome to this webinar, and we hope we'll enjoy together for the next 2 days. So maybe just to start us off, I would request one of us, if you could kindly unmute and maybe lead us with a word of prayer so that we could start our session. Any volunteer from the team? Would anybody volunteer to open for us with a word of prayer? Then probably I could start us off. Let's bow down and we open with a word of prayer. We say, our Father in heaven, we come before you this morning to thank you for your goodness, your mercies that are new every morning. We thank you for being our God and being there for us. Thank you for the gift of life and also the good health that you've given us. As we begin our session today, we want to commit ourselves in your holy hand. We invite you for your guidance and your wisdom, that as we are gathered here in this webinar, you shall give us the way to share our experiences, our knowledge that we have gathered in the marketplace. May you guide us in this session, and we shall be grateful to come back at the end of the session to thank you for who you are. We pray this, believing and trusting in your holy name. Amen. So allow me to share my screen and my topic for today. And as I also start off, I normally like a very engaging class that we can participate in our discussion so that we are able to move together. It is not such a big topic, and what I'm excited about is it's a topic that has already been introduced in terms of problem solving. And we will start maybe by doing what we learned in the last 2 days. What we learned about problem solving. Let me hear from us one thing that you pick from the session that you had with Catherine, that is on Tuesday and Wednesday, about problem solving skills and how you think this topic of root cause analysis would be related to what you learned. Let me just hear one thing that you took home. Good morning, Maureen. I remember Catherine saying, if there is one thing that you'll take home after the session, 1, 2, 3, 4 things she talked about, and how you think it will be related to our topic for today. One thing that we took from yesterday. So, Peter, please. One item that you took from the discussion from Catherine on problem solving skills, kindly share with us.
Sorry, Rhoda, I was not. I had not logged in.
Oh, you were not in that session.
Yes.
Okay. The rest, Anne, Deborah, anybody who attended the session for problem solving skills, because this is a continuation of the same?
No.
Oh, majority of you didn't attend.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. Sorry?
This is our first session.
This is our first session. That's okay.
Yes.
So probably I'll just help us to capture. I was able to follow through her presentation. And I wish you had attended, because it was talking about problem solving skills. And one of the things that Catherine mentioned was the issue of critical thinking, that she said problems are not always so bad. At times they come so that we can look for solution and maybe to improve the way we do things. And she mentioned that in terms of in our organization, how we solve problems, mostly it's not a one-man event. It is normally done collaboratively within a team. And one of the skills that we need to have as managers or as HR practitioner is critical thinking. She went ahead and mentioned, as we are doing our recruitment and we are looking for people in maybe management position or supervisory positions, one of the competencies that we should always look for is the problem solving skills and also critical thinking, because there is one, we don't have one fit all way or method of solving problems. And problems will always arise in our individual life and also in our organization. So we should be able to critically think through a problem, look at the causes of that problem, and also try to come up with solution. And this can only happen when we have a diverse of opinion from people who probably interact with the customers, who are the owners of this problem. And we talked about ownership of the problem. The other thing that she mentioned was there was need to have different methods or techniques that can be applied in the workplace in terms of problem solving. And I remember she mentioned some of the methods. One of it was the PDCA method, which was basically the way you do the planning. You check, and then you act. And we saw that kind of method of problem solving. Mostly it's applicable in marketing, in product development, or in the manufacturing industries. So she talked about various methods of problem solving that are applicable in different events. She also mentioned about the 5 why techniques, how you keep on probing and asking, why did this happen? What was the cause of this? And the answer to one of the why will become the next question, so that you drill down into getting the root cause of the issue. She also talked about the Pareto analysis, a method of problem solving, which is also called the 80-20 rule, that we'll also look at it in details. She talks about the cause-effect diagram, or what we call the fishbone diagram, which I'll also elaborate in today's session. And then she also talked about a very simple method called the simplex process, and also the drilling down approach. So those are some of the methods that she tackled in terms of problem solving. And she mentioned that this would be a continuation. But with that knowledge that majority of us didn't attend that session, I'll look at this topic maybe from a layman's. It's a bit technical. It is not those topics that maybe we are really comfortable with in terms of the being HR, because we've been going for trainings that are just HR related. And we want to get out of our comfort zone of being HR specialist only. And we want to dive into the marketplace and actually understand the business, and also expand or enhance our knowledge about how we deal with these other managerial aspects, so that as HR, we can be able to sit on the table and say, we know 1, 2, 3 things about problem solving, and also the root cause, the root cause analysis in terms of when you're discussing with our colleagues. So maybe just to understand our background, how many of us, maybe by a show of hands, are in the HR, and how many of us are in different fields? Let me see by show of hands. How many are we that are in HR? They are HR practitioners, and Maureen, I can say she's in HR, and Deborah and Janet. Maybe you could hear from Deborah and Janet. Which field are you? The rest are in HR, so they are HR practitioners like me. And mostly the issues we discuss are recruitment. We talk about issues of job evaluation, job analysis, industry relations. Let's hear from Janet. Janet and Deborah.
I'm Deborah. I'm in finance.
You're in finance. Great.
Yes.
Let's hear from Janet. Janet, which field are you in? She's unable to unmute, so we'll just continue. And I think she'll talk to us as she's able to do that. So let's jump into root cause analysis. Or maybe let me take you back. What is problem solving? And how does it occur in our personal life and also in our organization? Let me hear from volunteers. First, what is problem solving? The other one, what is your understanding, your layman's understanding about root cause analysis? There is no right or wrong answer. We will discuss this because that's why we are here for the 2 days.
Problem solving, I think, is resolving issues that arises either at a personal level or at work.
That is very true. Thank you very much, Anne. Any other? What is a root cause analysis in your own understanding, or when you saw that topic, what is it that made you maybe pick? Duncan, so Peter, and we can put our hands down if it was for the previous session.
Duncan?
Yes, Duncan.
Okay, for me, I think problem solving is that of finding solutions to issues that arise.
That is true.
Yeah.
Very well said. Root cause analysis, what is your understanding? I think we've done justice to problem solving. It is actually trying to look for solution for the issues or the challenges that normally come. They come in terms of the opportunities or maybe challenges of what you're doing. Root cause analysis, what is your understanding of that from what the word says? Root cause analysis. So Peter, you want to tell us something? I can see your hand is still up. Root cause analysis.
Okay, I understand it's a process of discovering the causes of a problem and finding appropriate solutions.
That is very true. Thank you very much. And Rita, I can say on the chat, you're saying root cause is getting to the base of a problem. That's true. RCA, that's from Polycarp Odhiambo. He's saying process of getting to the main issue that caused the problem. And let me see if there is any other contribution on the chat. Yes, that is very true. And that is what we will concentrate on in the next course, in the next 2 days. So allow me to start. So our course objective for the 2 days will cover 10 main points. First, we are going to look at what is the root cause analysis, or what we can call RCA from the abbreviations. We'll also define what is root cause analysis, and we'll look at it from 3 approaches, or maybe from 3 total quality management experts, how they have defined root cause analysis. We're also going to explain the importance of root cause analysis. Why is it just a fad? Why do we have to go into root cause analysis when we can just look for quick fixes to our problem? We're also going to look at steps for conducting root cause analysis in depth. We are going to explain how to use the RCA for boosting productivity. So we look at it both at individual level and also at organization level. Then we are going to look at the 3 techniques of root cause analysis, or what we call the methods or the approaches. And the 3 techniques that we'll have what we call the 5 why techniques. This was alluded to and explained yesterday, why we use the 5 why techniques and why 5, or can they be more? We are also going to look at the process of Pareto analysis, of what we call the 80-20 rule. And we're also going to look at what we call the steps of creating what I call the cause effect, or the fishbone diagram. So we are going to look at what is the fishbone diagram, how it came about, and what are the steps of creating this diagram. And then we are going to list the difficulties in the root cause analysis. And finally, we are going to look at the tips for effective root cause analysis. When we come to problem solving, and something that Catherine really emphasized, is there is no one process or method of problem solving that is effective in any organization or for any problem. The choice of the approach or the method that you take depends on the nature of the problem that you're trying to solve, probably the industry that you are in, the environment that you are operating, and then we look at what are some of the challenges that, or maybe what are some of the things that we can do to ensure that the method that we have chosen, it is effective for the kind of problem we have picked, and also how do we avoid some of the challenges that comes with it. One of it is maybe the management or the top management goodwill. because we can be put in a task force of solving a particular problem. Let's say maybe a major complaint in terms of the staff. Maybe they're complaining about one of the major complaints we experience as HR is unequal pay. And maybe you've been put in that task force so that you can drill down into the root cause of the issues. And once you give your recommendations, probably there's no goodwill from the management and they are not implemented. So this might lead to demotivation of the staff. And if there is no implementation of the recommendations or what are the results or the finding of that research, then it may not be effective. So we will look at some of the tips of ensuring that the problem solving or the root cause analysis we've done, it's actually effective and works for an institution. Again, root cause analysis, it's not a new topic. It is something that we've been doing on a daily basis, but probably we have never given a name to what we do. So we practice every day. Again, we are going to learn so that we come out of the comfort zone and we'll be able to have a more broadened approach or maybe knowledge about it. So in my training, I always like to start with case studies or stories. And we'll start with a case study about the root cause analysis, and we will keep on referring to it as we proceed. So you will allow me to take us through the case study. It's about 15 slides, but just follow through and listen. And then I'll also probe questions so that I can see whether you understand what this case is about. And this case study actually will form basis of our training in the next 2 days, because we will keep on referring to it. So we go. So this is a case of Peter Smith was appointed as a secondary data administrator to work under the primary data administrators, Rick Martin. For those who were working in organizations, we understand how our IT system operates. We have the network administrators, then we have the database administrator who normally deals with the servers. So mostly we will have the primary database administrator for the big organization and the secondary who deals with the secondary part of the server in terms of the data that has been kept. So we have two gentlemen, Peter Smith, who has been appointed in this organization, which is called ECO. It's an e-commerce organization. And once he's recruited, he's put under the leadership of Rick Martin, who is the primary data administrator that runs actually the organization. So the primary database is the active platform or the data that maybe when you're serving the customers that are actively being involved in the every day. Then the secondary mostly will just be a backup in the event the primary data fails, then we can go back to the secondary data. So Peter Smith is in the secondary data, where his boss, Rick Martin, is actually the primary database administrator. And in this case, he's boss. So both Rick and Peter works for Ecomart, a leading e-commerce company, which sells various kind of physical products through its popular e-commerce. I'll take this platform to be like the Alibaba. We all know those, the Jumia, the Alibaba e-commerce kind of organizations. So Rick had an emergency at home and he had to leave suddenly to deal with some of the family issues. So he had to take some leave. What happened is in Rick's absence, the complete responsibility for the database, that's both the private and the secondary, now lies on Peter's shoulder, who in this case was maybe a new staff, a junior staff to Rick. So while Rick was away, after a few days, the customer service started receiving several calls from irate customers. All the customers were complaining that they were unable to access the eMart's e-commerce website. The server was returning an error of a 500 error. And the day was a true test for Peter's job. On several customer complaints were logged by the customer service center as the website remained inaccessible from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can imagine that is the busiest part of the day when people mostly make a lot of orders on their request, but the website was down and it was showing that error. There were several repercussions due to the primary business website of the Ecomart being down, and customers were unable to make purchases and complained of poor customer service. Thousands of dollars worth of revenue were lost. Company reputation was tarnished. Some customers were lost forever as they vowed never to return back to the organization. because of the disappointment. Probably they were looking for something urgent and they couldn't get, so they went to the competitor. So the company had to immediately announce a huge sale on their website the next day to lure back customers with further reduced, which further reduced their profits. You can imagine when you have such an organization and they give sales over 50% cut or discount so that they are able to bring back their customer, that is a drastic or significant loss of their revenue and also the profit, because they're trying to correct an error that had occurred. So Peter was lost as to what had happened. The website seems to be running completely fine till the previous day, and he just could not pinpoint the root cause of the problem. In such a situation, root cause analysis can prove to be a boon to companies as well as the employees like Peter. If Peter had done a root cause analysis, he would have been easily able to find that the root cause of the problem was due to maybe some of the things that we are going. Maybe I'll just pause at that point and we try to actually drill down. Root cause analysis is merely drilling down what could have caused that problem. Let me hear from some of us, from the volunteers, what do you think were some of the causes of that, that hitch, that error in the server, or the server not picking, the website not being up when Rick had stepped out and now we had a new person here? What could have been the issue and what could be some of the suggested problems in drilling? Let's just give it a go. We try, we learn through trying, making errors. Then when you look at those answers, which I'll take you through, we can see how well we are doing. From a common understanding, what do you think were some of the issues?
I think there was no proper handover when Rick was leaving.
Mm-hmm. That is one. So one of the causes could have been lack of proper handover when Rick was leaving. What would you want to give us a solution if you are seated as the manager or the CEO? What could be the solution for that? Or what would we do in our organization? Do we take Rick for disciplinary when he comes back? And let me hear from you. What would be the solution to that?
I would call for a meeting and have a proper laid down way of handing over when somebody is stepping out. Mm-hmm. So that the mistake cannot be repeated again.
So you will call for a meeting and have the issues, and you ensure that there's a proper handover next time.
Yes.
Good. That is a good trial. Let's hear another one.
Madam Roda?
Yes, please.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Polycarp, welcome.
Nashukuru. I would have a review of our employee life cycle, which includes exit. I would have a review of the leave policy and procedure, and also document a process flow on what would happen when a person is to go on leave or when a person exits.
That is great, Polycarp. We will look at the policies and procedures that we have in terms of the HR leave management procedures, the handover that are done, and maybe probably the notice. Thank you, Polycarp. Let's hear another one. Alice, you're saying I'm breaking and she's not able to hear me. Is that the case with everyone else, or is it from her side? She's saying I keep on breaking. She can hardly hear me. Can the rest hear me?
Very clearly.
Good, good. Let's continue. Duncan, tell us something. What could have been the root cause of that issue?
Okay, for me, I feel there could be lack of goodwill from the person being handed to. Yeah, that's what I feel.
There was a lack of goodwill from the person who was being handed over. He was not keen enough. So what would you take as a solution?
A solution for that could be that, first of all, we need to be keen. Then next, we need to understand the what will the impact it will have when we're not keen to what is being given to us? Because now, for instance, now the company to lose the revenue because of one mistake. So if we improve on that, then now next time the company will have some profits in that.
Great. That's very good trial. Let me hear from Deborah or someone else who is not in HR. I want us to get out of our HR shoes to general management and leaders, and the CEOs will become, and the directors will become. Let me hear from Deborah. You said you are from finance. Let me hear from you.
I think from HR side, we should have an effort while hiring to improve the office and not the office holder.
To improve the office, not the office holder.
Yes, because if there were strategies laid down, even if someone was to exit, the office will run without hitches. So going forward, I would say the management should improve the office and not the office holder. Because people will always change offices and people will always be away on leave or emergencies.
Would you break down for us what is improving the office and not the officer means to you? Is it the outlook, the design of the office?
Okay, when you're doing induction and training, you don't do inductions and trainings to one person or to an individual. You do to a group of people so that when one is away, that another person can take up the challenge.
All right. So you're saying in terms of the primary data, we should have had people, succession planning, the people who could have taken up the role, not maybe from another session.
Yes.
That is very true. So let us look at how this case has been dealt with, and all the responses I've had are correct, and because there are very many ways of looking at it. Then there's also a comment that Rick was micromanaging the running of the system, addressed by ensuring succession planning. That is critical, and key persons. That is correct. Then I think that's all what I've seen on the chat. So we look at the first root cause for this issue. I really wanted to hear someone from ICT. I think we don't have someone from ICT. And we are going to pick maybe three root causes that are main in this case, and also look for the solutions. So the first root cause of this issue is that the cause of the server returning the 500 error was the application server, which processes the request was timing out due to high web traffic. It could have been a system error generated by the system and not necessarily human error. And why I was looking for someone not in HR, because how we have been trained as HR practitioner is to look for the human error and to look at how the kind of solutions we'll have. Probably we'll look at who dropped the ball, what was not happening, what punishment do we take, and maybe we'll try to look at most of the solution in terms of the disciplinary. Someone was not keen, so a disciplinary action should have. Someone didn't hand over. But when you look at it from an open perspective and approach with an intention of having a long-time solution and getting to the root cause of the issue and not treating the symptoms, then it becomes a more sustainable way of solving our issues. So the first root cause was the application server, which processes the request that's in the primary server, was timing out due to high web traffic. Then the other root cause was the cause of timing out of the application server was that the associated database was not working. And I want to look at the way we are picking our root causes, look at the way they were flowing. The first one was because the application server, which processes request, was timing out due to high web traffic. Then you go and ask yourself, why was it timing out? So the cause of the timing out of the application server was that the associated database was not working. What would be the next third root cause? Why was it not working? So the third one will be the cause of the database not working was because it was filled to full capacity with logs which had to be eliminated manually. However, Peter, who was now handling this, was not aware that he had to manually eliminate the logs so that the database had become full. So when Rick is in the office, he normally eliminates the logs on a daily basis, probably at the end of the day, so that the application does not get full and get clogged and get locked like it did. But now Peter, because of the maybe emergency nature of how Nick exited, was not aware of this. Hence, you can see how conducting a root cause analysis could have helped Peter drill down to the main root of the problem, then find a solution to the problem. I like the person who said we should be looking at the office and not the office holder. When a role comes up and when you're coming up with a role, there is what we call the process flow, or maybe making a list of the activities that one officer does from morning to evening so that you are able to know the things that they do. And this should be documented in a document so that when they are not there, someone else can follow that manual or follow that process so that they are able to do the things correctly. You've had cases where if someone does not give a touch to maybe a particular task, that task cannot be done because probably he had studied the system, he had studied the machine and has known this is the main error that is happened, and he had come up with his own ways that are like tool of trade to know how to resolve that issue. But if you give any other person that activity, it will not perform because probably something has to be jump-started, like this case of manual elimination. Could this have been automated? Was it a system error or a bug that maybe by improving the system, it could have been automated and removed so that we don't have those hitches? So the solution here would be to manually delete the logs, and also the company should maintain a written documentation about the tasks that the secondary database administrator has to do in the primary database administrator's absence. Now let's look at the root cause analysis in detail. And when we look at the root cause of analysis, we are going to look at looking at the short term, which we call the short fixes, and also the long term resolving of an issue. Because as you solve that issue, I think the most immediate thing for Peter to have done is actually trying to fix the website to ensure that it's up and running. Then from there, you come up with the policies, as you have said, you come up with the processes, document them, and also implement them. So first we'll have to maybe look for the quick fixes so that the things can go back to normalcy. And then we drill down what the real issue is, put documentation in place, and also ensure that these things are established. So what is root cause analysis? It is just basically what we have introduced. And we are saying it is also known as RCA, as the abbreviations would say. And it is a method that is used to deal with the problems, the errors or failure by finding the root cause or drilling down what is the real cause of this or the origin of that problem. The solution to the problem is then found by correcting the root cause, or by removing it. If it's not able to we are not able to eliminate it, probably to reduce it to prevent the problem from repeating itself. So root cause analysis is where we look at the root cause of the issue, look for ways of correcting or eliminating it with an intention of a long-term solution that it does not recur again or it does not repeat itself. So we are saying root cause analysis is simply a systematic process that uses common sense to help measuring and documenting the process of identifying. So you have to identify what are the causes, try to understand them, and also resolve the problem through finding the root causes of the problem. So there are three activities here. It is the identification bit, trying to understand, and you try to understand through looking for facts and data of the case, and also having multiple options of resolving that issue and then picking the best. I can see a man there with a graph. You'll come to understand what that graph means. And you can see those bars are separated and with a line that is pointing to the highest. So when you come to the root cause of the root cause analysis, It is where we classify or categorize all the causes. Probably as we brainstormed, there were many causes of that problem that we saw. Someone was not keen, the other person didn't do a handover, probably we created an officer, someone was holding on to their job. When you look at that, so you'll classify them as different causes. And then you can take a time period and say, how often does this happen? It happened in ICT, did it happen in HR, did it happen in this department? And then you see the frequency of that occurrence could be the main cause of this. So you will then concentrate on the main or the bigger bus that actually shows the main cause or the most likely or the most probable cause of that issue, and then try to attack it from there. So you start with the biggest or the one that is highest probability, then you look for solution, and then as you come down to the ones that are less effective. Let me pause for a question. Do we now understand what is root cause analysis in a general way? Is there any question at that point of what root cause analysis is before we go now to the technical definition by 3 experts? Any question, or we proceed? Silence means we can proceed. So let's look at the definitions of root cause analysis in terms of the technical terms. So we are going to look at 3 definitions from a group of 3 experts, and mostly these are TQM, or the total quality management experts, because the root cause analysis is a way of improving, and it falls on improving the quality or the standards of our processes and also the products in terms of eliminating the errors and the defects. So the first person who has defined root cause analysis is Paul Wilson. We are going to look at it, and then we are going to look at the volley and antico. And finally, we are going to look at the definition that has been given by 3 brothers, that's Robert Latino, Kenneth Latino, and Mark Latino, who are reliable or sustainable experts, and they have shared their experience by writing some guidance on what they have learned in the marketplace in terms of how they run their organization that they inherited from their fathers. So let's look at each and every definition of the 3. I know there are many when you look at total quality management books and many researches, but we'll just focus on the 3 which we found to be more relevant to our study today. So Paul Wilson is a member of an American Society for Quality Control and defines RCA in his book. There is the book that he has written, you can look for it, called Root Cause Analysis. And he looks at root cause analysis as a tool for total quality management, and he defines it as follows. He has said that root cause analysis is a powerful tool used to identify, to record, to visually represent, in terms of the graphs, the possible causes of the problem. Instead of problems and their effects appearing fast and insoluble, root cause analysis breaks down the problem into smaller and more easily handled chunks, represented by what we call the fishbone diagram, or the cause effect diagram, that we're going to actually look at it in details among the 3 techniques that I talked about. Then the second definition is from volley and antico, and he defines root cause analysis. I like this as my best definition because he's not precise, and he's giving some room for the best possible. We can say that this definition looks at the critical thinking, trying to drill and with some level of certainty. So volley and antico has defined the root cause analysis as an objective, a thorough and disciplined methodology employed to determine the most probable. He has used the word most probable underlying causes of the problem, because we can never be 100% sure causes of problems. It could be customer complaints and undesired events within an organization, with the aim of formulating and agreeing corrective action to at least mitigate. I said if we cannot eliminate, we at least mitigate, if not eliminate, those causes, and so produce significant long-term performance improvement. He knows we cannot do a whole percent or 100% in terms of performance improvement or productivity, but we can achieve a significant long-term and sustainable performance improvement. Then the last definition that we have is from the 3 brothers who inherited their organization from their father. And Robert Latino is the president of the sustainable organization that they run. It's called Reliable and Sustainability. And from what they learn and experience, they have written that guidelines and they have shared their experience. Though I know there are a lot of critics that have come to critique their work, that it is based on mere experience and not maybe research. And actually what they do, they have trained millions of practitioners or people in the business in terms of the quality, and they have and how it has worked for them. And their approach is more investigative rather than research-based. So they say the root cause analysis is the investigation and reporting the causes of occurrence to enable the identification of corrective actions adequate to prevent recurrence and thereby protect the health and safety of the public, the workers, and also the environment. So you can see in their approach, it's investigative in nature, and they also look at the safety and the welfare of the people and the public, the workers or the stakeholders. It is more on the impact they make to the environment and the society rather to the business. And because they are actually sustainability crusaders for that matter. So those are the three definitions that we'll go with. And let me pause for a question before we go to the importance. Why is root cause analysis so critical? Why would we not just look for quick fixes and we move on instead of wasting a lot of time and resources? Let me hear comments, questions so far about what you've discussed. Yes, I can hear you.
I think root cause analysis is very important for the element that it helps you to avoid recurrence.
Avoids recurrence.
Yeah, of whatever had happened before. On a second note is it gives the basis of learning for the next person. Let's assume you're managing a department, something has happened. Once you do an RCA, it is easier for the next person who would replace you to ensure that the same does not happen again.
It's very well said, Polycarp. It builds capacity. It also, when you do it from the need to know approach, you're also giving an opportunity, or you're enlightening yourself on how to improve. From a HR perspective, to me, it will be like also a training needs analysis. You'll be able to actually understand which areas do you need to build capacity on. Like the case of now, Peter and Rick. Probably now we could even think, if you're the HR of that organization, could Peter be trained on manning the primary data? Should he have the access to the manual? How many people again in the primary database administration in this organization? Is it possible for an e-commerce organization of that size to only have one person running the whole, or was it just a transition of the leader? And the people who are running with the secondary should also actually know what the primary data are doing, and then you enhance the capacity. So that's very correct, Polycarp. Let's hear another comment. Why do you think, and I like the issue of it is more sustainable. It looks at the long term. It looks at improving the productivity. It looks at improving the profitability, because you can imagine the mitigation measures they had to take was to offer their product at 50%. I'm sure for any business person can tell, when you sell a product at 50% of the price, you're not even able to meet the cost of production or buying that facility or that item. So you are selling it at a loss because you want to bring back the customers. So it affects our revenue and our bottom line. So again, if someone was we were to look for a technical person to come and fix that aspect and not look internally, what would happen? If actually Rick leave, or another person, let's say both of them are out and someone comes on board, again, the same error would repeat. So we are trying to eliminate that the repetitiveness. Then in terms of the problem solving, we are trying to look for a long-term solution that is sustainable and that can ensure that even from where we have dipped, we can even move higher. So thank you very much, Polycarp. Let's hear from someone else. What is it that you have picked? If we were actually to close this training and say we've talked about root cause analysis, because we have explained it and we have defined it. And I want us to actually contribute before we go to the technical methods that might be a bit technical. and we enjoy the general aspects of this. Let me hear from someone else.
Yeah, morning.
Good morning, Hortense.
So
I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Yes, thank you.
In general, it's what Polycarp have said. It reduces time and cost, because it's good to move when you are knowing really what is the problem. It is even help you on how to tackle it quickly and well. I can even give you an example of in medical. When you feel a headache, you can take a Panadol, but a Panadol is not a permanent solution. That's why sometimes they send you to the laboratory, you go there, they check really what the root cause of that headache. And then after they give you some pills to help you heal well. Yeah.
That is very true. And I like that example. When you just take a Panadol, you're trying to treat the symptoms and not the root cause. What is actually causing that headache? That's a very good example. Let's also give examples on our workplaces or maybe our life experiences where we have attempted to deal with the symptoms and probably ignore or maybe say, because it's expensive, I have to invest in this, then I'll not do that kind of a test. I've seen some comment that has someone has learned not all issues are caused by people. That's why doing an RCA is important. That is very true. So that we're told, don't judge before we go to the root cause. We are not saying people could not have dropped the balls. They could, but we need to go and drill. Most of organizations are not ready to invest in drilling or to put committees to look at the solution with an intention of getting a solution rather than getting the culprit. Someone has said to come up with mitigations events, reduce costs associated with problems, and collect historical data for further analysis. That's very correct. Thank you for that. Anything before we proceed? Polycarp had also said problem solving, arriving at an amicable stance or stage on an issue is getting to the base also. That's from Anne. Thank you. Any further comment? So with that, I think we can proceed and we see the importance of RCA. So the importance of root cause analysis. I know you will hear a lot of the things that we've talked about. And I like because when we discuss like that, you're able to know what is coming next and you're also able to apply. We'll also look at the application of the root cause analysis when you come to the other session. So why root cause analysis? Why do we want to invest? Why is it graphical? Why do we have to put so much resources together? So we are saying, so why should anyone conduct a root cause analysis? And we are saying most of the time, people as well as organizations are interested in getting the problem at hand solved through quick fixes, which we do most of the time. You hear a headache or you think you have a homa which is recurrent and you just want to go look for that antihistamine. You want to go look for a Panadol and say, this one will treat me and it will go away. And before we know it, probably that problem that we are trying to cover up or we are trying to wish away, it now becomes something big and maybe something that would cost you, including your life or maybe even your organization or maybe wipe off or your profits. So we are saying as long as the problem gets handled in the present time and the work gets done, most people as well as organizations do not bother about what will happen in the future. We say the future will take care of itself. They do not think whether they have eliminated the problem from its root or stopped it from just recurring. Then we are saying such a short-term attitude towards problem solving does not benefit the organization in terms of profitability as well as growth. We are saying both people and organization need to look at problems in terms of eliminating the causes of the problem rather than working on removing the impact of the problem. Then we are saying this can be done by drilling down, digging deep to reach the core of the problem and finding the root cause of the problem. You can then focus on removing this root cause which will serve as a preventive measure to prevent the problem from recurring. That's basically what we have just said, that we want to solve the problem in such a way that we prevent it from recurring, or we reduce the frequency of the recurring. Maybe at that point, I would want to pose a question. If there is a difference between the impact of a problem and the frequency of a problem, does it mean that if a problem is frequently recurring, it is a big problem? Is anything that is frequently recurring a big problem? Let's hear. Not necessarily. You can have small issues that are recurring, but the impact probably on the growth, the profitability, or the quality of the service, it is very minimal. So it doesn't, I'm sure we are going to look at those graphs where we are going to look at the impact and also the frequency of that. So conducting a root cause analysis will help you to get the root cause of the problem by following a series of logical steps through a proper defined process. Then we are saying the RCA will help you to adopt a structured approach to problem solving to prevent the problem from occurring again. So what we will cover in this course of root cause analysis, we are going to look at it in a very structured and well-defined way of solving a problem. So we are going to look at some of the steps, some of the processes that are taken. So right ahead, we are going to look at the steps for conducting the root cause analysis. What are some of the steps? Let's brainstorm. When you have an issue like what we have the case of Peter and Rick, what are the steps do you think should be involved in terms of the root cause analysis? In generality, the steps. When an event occurs, when something occurs, where should we start? Let me hear from you. I know most of you have said we were not in yesterday's session, but I remember there were 5 processes of problem solving. We could just borrow from them of maybe what we have learned in the marketplace.
Catherine's hand is up. Catherine Mushemi.
Yes, Catherine? Catherine,
Yeah,
you were in yesterday's session, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Tell us.
So I believe the first step is identifying. Yeah, you really have to identify what is the problem.
That is very correct. Identify what is the problem, because you cannot sort what you don't know. Can you solve what you don't know? You need to know what you're trying to sort. So the first step is identification of the problem. And I think in yesterday's session, Catherine took you through very elaborate process of problem stating and said, you look at the 5 questions we normally ask. The 5, the 1 husbands and the 5 wives. How did it happen? You start with what happened? How did it happen? When did it happen? Why did it happen? The 5 questions. That's very good, Catherine. The next step from someone else. Someone to give it a go. Once we identify the problem, this is the situation we are in. Then where do we go from there? Yes, we have known this is the problem. Then the server is not working. Where do we go from there? Kindly unmute and just hear. I said any answer is correct because we are going to look at it anyway. Let me hear. I'm promoting the others to the panelists so that we can hear from all of you. After we identify this is the problem, where do we go from there? Anyone? You can put your comments on the chat. I'll look at them also. Ross, I can see your hand is up. After we identify the problem, what do we do with the problem? Is identification the same as understanding the problem? Mm-hmm. Deborah has said after identifying the problem, we do the root cause analysis. Mm-hmm. She had also said that root cause analysis is important in making informed decisions. Ross, your hand is up.
I think after identifying the problem, you analyze it.
You analyze the problem.
Yeah, to understand it well. Then after that, you can engage with people involved, or even a third party to see how the problem has started, the reasons, things like that.
Thank you very much. That's a very good trial. And actually, those are the things that you look at. So we are going to look at 5 steps for conducting root cause analysis. And as she had rightly pointed, the first one is to specify the problem situation. You specify the problem situation. That is what we call the problem statement or problem definition. Then the next step would be to understand the problem situation. Yes, you have identified this is what has happened, how it has happened, when it happened, and why it happened. Then you go into fact and data research. So to ensure when did it happen, what is the magnitude, how many customers have been locked out, what is the impact of the sales, has it ever recurred, what was missed in this. So you get into more details in terms of looking for information and the data. And these ones you can get from the problem owners. The problem owners could be, in this case for the e-commerce, you can look at the nature of complaints that are being logged at the customer care or the call center. What are the major complaints that we are receiving? Is that people are not able to access our website? Or are they accessing the website, but they cannot make request for the whatever they want to purchase? Or are they starting the process, then it drops down in the middle? So you have to get all the information and all the data that surrounds that so that you can understand the problem situation, so that you're able to know, is it a system error? Is it someone who slept on their job, that they didn't even start the server? Or the server was started in the same way it is normally done, but something occurred. Then after you understand the problem situation and the context against which it happened, you take prompt action or the steps. This is where we try to make the first move. What is it that we can do at the moment for the website or the server to start? Yet we have not dealt with the root cause of the problem. So that we want to bring the business to normalcy as fast as possible before we go to the deeper issues, because maybe the main root cause of the issue may need more time, may need more research, may need more input from other stakeholders, maybe from the other department, from the customers, and it may take time. But in the meantime, do we have any quick fixes that can be dealt with for the customers to start maybe accessing our merchandise, making sales, even maybe like the promotions they have brought about? How do we revive the system at the moment before we look at the bigger issue? Then from there, you take preventive measures, and then after that, you establish the solution. So we are going to look at each and every of the 5 steps. And I hope you have picked them. I said you specify the problem situation, you understand the problem situation through the facts and the data, then you take prompt action. for the time being so that you are able to revive the operations. And then you take preventive measures. After you take the preventive measures or the root cause analysis, then how do we establish the actions or the recommendations that we are doing so that they come in terms of the policies, the procedures, and putting down for future reference. So in terms of specifying the problem situation, what are some of the things that goes into this? We are saying the first step towards conducting any root cause analysis study is to properly and specifically define the problem. We've talked about the problem statement. You should use the SMART rule to define your problem. We all understand what is SMART rule in terms of the performance. So the rules that you use in terms of the problem statement, the problem statement must be specific. It must be very specific and not in general. It must be something that is well understood. Then the problem statement must be measurable. How many people are unable to access the system, and where, from what time to what time did this start, and what is the impact in terms of the revenue. Then it must be action oriented. So the problem definition must have an action. Then it must be realistic. And that's why I said, I think I like the definition of the volley antico, because it is very realistic and practical. It is looking for things that are significant, things that are realistic, and things that can be done. It actually understands that you may not be able to eliminate 100%, but you can make or reduce significantly. It must be time constrained, in a time constrained manner, because time is of essence, and you should be able to do your things in a timely and a fast way, because the more we delay, the more losses we continue to incur. Then we say, defining the problem using the SMART rule will ensure that you have first of all identified the problem correctly, have looked at it from all the possible angles in terms of the scope. This also makes sure that the defined problem is clear, it is accurate, and you can then conduct a root cause analysis with a clear problem. You can imagine if you get it wrong at the problem solving, that we are saying someone was not keen on the job, yet it's a system issue. So as you drill down to the root cause, because one thing lead to the other, you're going to get it wrong, and the result will not be effective to what the real issue is. So it is good to invest time and resources in doing this process without having later to realize that you began on the wrong side. It is like taking a journey. We want to go to Mombasa, but then you engage on another route. Now you're headed to Garissa. You may travel for the 8-10 hours, but you don't get to your destination. Then we are saying defining the problem will also pave the path as to how the root cause analysis will proceed from this first step forward. In fact, we say, just like we say in planning, spend as much time as possible and as much resources as possible in terms of the problem definition, because if you get it wrong, nothing else will add up. Any question on the specifying the problem situation or the problem definition? Any comments? Any question before we go to the next step? Any? Let me hear your comments. I'm also going to look at your charts. Cosmas has said you develop an action plan and strategies on how you are going to address the root cause. And then Lucille has said you put the problem into contextual manner. That is very true. We said you try to understand in a contextual manner. That is very correct. Any other comment? So then with that, we can proceed to the next step. We say the first one is specifying the problem situation. Now, how do we put it in a contextual manner? We are trying to understand the problem. And that is the next step that we are going to look at. So the next step is understand the problem. What is the meaning? I said identification and understanding is not the same thing. Yes, we have identified, but are we trying to understand the circumstances or the context of this event, of this era, or this problem that has arose? So in terms of understanding the problem, we define the problem was our first step. The definition was the first step. We agree on that. Then in this second step, you will make sure that what you have understood about the problem is accurate, and not based on hard facts and data, and it's based on reality. We say this step ensures that your personal bias or perception does not misinterpret the problem wrongly. Did we see our bias in looking at the case study that we had? Probably because of our line of practice, that we are in HR, and we want to box ourselves into thinking it is the human error. It is this person who had an issue. It was either Rick or it was either Peter who had an issue. Have you looked at it, trying to understand the problem situation? Good. So in this step, we will check each aspect of the problem rationally and diligently. Why did the server stop? Why was it giving an error? That means some action had already gone into it, but then it was giving an error. And did he understand? I know in ICT, actually when you call the ICT people and you tell them, I'm getting this, they'll tell you, can I have a screenshot or a print screen of the error that you are getting? And once you give them the error, the 500 or the 400 or the number of that error, they are able to know from their back end what error. But from this example, you can see like Peter could not understand what the error meant. It meant something was not working. It meant something the logs had to be cleared, but probably someone trained in that could have known. To do this, you need to find the real data about the problem, check the information you have about the problem, and obtain a clear understanding of the real issues faced in the problem situations. Again, you can use brainstorming. Someone had said you need to consult with the other stakeholders, people in other departments, the users, the people in the customer service. You see, in the first case study that we had, there were many customer complaints that were being logged. The call center was actually packed with complaints. And one of the complaints that actually came out of that, people said there was poor customer service. Probably they also felt frustrated that people in the call center or the customer care were not treating them or not giving them a solution. Probably the people at the call center were also overwhelmed because they're getting calls and they have no ways and they're not getting a definite answer from the IT or from Peter. So you can use the brainstorming very effectively in this step to check each piece of information related to the problem. Probably ask, what has this person complained about? Why are they agitated? What products are moving very fast so that we try to reach? Did you take the number of the customers who are complaining so that we can reach back to them? Number 3, take prompt action steps. This is what I call the quick fixes at the moment. Yes, as we're working on now, what are the low-lying fruits that we can actually deal with at the point as we drill down on the issue? So this means that now that we have defined the problem, we have understood it completely and also accurately, now take immediate action steps to resolve the problem, at least at the present day or at the present moment, so that work can continue. You can do this by taking temporary countermeasures to resolve the problem temporarily and start getting the work done or back to operations. Then we are saying, remember that this step just offer the temporary quick fixes to the problem for the time being, and permanent steps will need to be taken to completely eliminate the problem from recurring. So those are the 3 steps. Let me have someone recapping the 3 steps before we go to 4, 5. We say the first one is the 3, all of them together, so that I know we are together. Someone to volunteer, just tell us the first 3 steps we've talked about. Very simple before we drop them. I love hearing from my participants. The 3, very simple. The 3 steps so far. We have 2 more to go.
Yes, Chair.
Yes, you can go ahead, Duncan.
The first one was to specify the problem situation. The second was to understand the problem. Then the third one, to take prompt action steps.
Great. Thank you very much. So let's proceed to the 4th one. We say the 4th one now is to take preventive action steps. What is to take preventive action steps? we said once you have now taken the temporary action steps or the quick fixes, then we need to proceed and take the next steps where we find what is the corrective action that need to be taken to completely eliminate the problem or to stop it from recurring. One of the solutions we gave, let's have an elaborate handover process with notes, where two parties, the person handing over and the person taking over, normally countersign. Make it as a policy and ensure now we have what we call maybe a template or a handover form where you actually give a briefer. This is the task, what someone should know, and maybe both of them actually sign that they have taken over. Again, in terms of the process flow, everything that they do, everything that the other person need to know, can they be documented in terms of the process flow so that the people with the primary database can be able to share the information they have with the secondary database. Again, it can happen the other way around. We have seen Peter probably is the only one in the secondary database. What if Peter now falls ill or he's absent? How will Rick, who is the boss, be able to handle the secondary data because he actually deals with the live system? Are they able to document everything that they do so that even another person, can we build succession planning? That every department, we have someone who can take over from the person who is maybe the senior, ensure that they also do the job shadowing. Again, in terms of the leave policy, someone mentioned, can we implement a policy where we are going to have a mandatory block leave for every employee, including the senior employee, so that the people who are shadowing them, who are below them, can have a continuous 2-week period on that job to be able to carry out their job. So these are corrective actions that are long-term that you're going to look at. So that is taking preventive action and steps. And then we are saying, after you have identified the primary root cause that have caused the problem, you need to decide on preventive or corrective steps or measures that you can take to eliminate these root causes for good. They are saying taking corrective action will definitely help you to prevent problem from recurring again. Then the last step we have is establish the solution. To me, this is the most important step that you can have. If you do all the first 4 steps, you identify the problem, you understand it, you have the quick fixes, and then you come up with corrective measures. If we don't entrench and mainstream the solutions, then it is not going to work. If we don't have maybe the top management or the management goodwill to drive this, to establish and ratify those policies that are going to close such a gap, then it may not work. It is likely to repeat itself. And this is where it is really important. We have the buy-in. And actually, this is where most organizations or most individuals drop the ball in terms of dealing with the issues or the problems that we have. This is actually one of the most important. So we'll then need to identify the rules or change in standards, procedures, or processes that need to be implemented so that particular problems as well as similar problems can be prevented from happening. If this doesn't happen, then the processes and the other step will just be futile. We'll be knowing what the issue is, we'll be understanding, but we'll keep on falling back to the same position. It also means if Rick doesn't come back or Peter leaves because of the frustration and we have someone else, the same thing will happen. So you should always keep in mind that this is one of the most crucial steps in root cause analysis that most people tend to ignore or miss. Some of this could be just ignorance. It could be lack of knowledge, or it could be people tell me, whatever we train is very good, but kwa ground vitu ni different. You can see there is no buy-in, there is no goodwill from the organization, because probably there are people even who thrive in problems or when those things, because they find an opportunity maybe to hit on the other person, take advantage of the financial cost and the escalations, because it makes them feel powerful. So the culture of an organization is something that is it takes a long time to change or to enhance, but it actually determines how well we conclude the root cause analysis and how we implement in terms of entrenching the policies, the standards, and the procedures and the processes that we have in terms of managing control. How many of us have quality controls or quality standards in their workplace. How many people are ISO certified in this forum? Let's see by a show of hands. How many are ISO certified or they have other quality standards in their place? We have the Six Sigma, and they are able to carry through this, and they are able to do routine audits. Polycarp, you are ISO certified. Who else? I'm expecting to see almost all the hands so that it doesn't remain a one-person show. It is something that is entrenched in the organization. Duncan, I can see, thank you for that. So we say this is a very critical process, and it determines the success of the root cause analysis. So those are the 5 steps. We are now going to proceed to see how we use the root cause analysis in terms of boosting the productivity. But I'll pause for questions, comments. Let's have an open discussion. How is this working? Let me hear. There is a comment from Rose. Rose, she's saying, morning all, it's great to have Rhoda, who is doing a wonderful job, is clear and well elaborate. Rhoda, hope at the end we will all take home a wealth of knowledge and be able to share the same with others. Thanks, Rhoda, and keep us please. That's from Rose Mteshi. Let's hear. Is this easy to implement? What is happening in our workplaces or in our personal lives? Problems does not just arise in the workplaces, even at individual life. Do you see where you can apply this? I want to hear from your experiences.
Rhoda, for me, this is Catherine.
Yes, Catherine.
For me, I feel like it's such a great topic, such a good thing to talk about, and to talk about the steps. But implementing it is difficult. You can do the identification and understand the situation. But like you say, the company culture and bureaucracy in the organization can make it difficult to resolve a problem and making sure it doesn't reoccur. But in small size problems, it's really very possible.
That is very true, Catherine. It's very true. But probably you could also share experiences. How small do we do it? That when a problem occurs, how do our organization approach it? Do we approach it from the long-term, purposeful approach of we want to actually close down of this, we want to improve our processes, we want to improve our procedures, or we just go into blame games? How does it happen in the workplace? Or even at our homes?
Rhoda, I can go?
Yes, you can go, Polycarp.
I'd use the organization I work in, and also the fact that I'm a citizen, unlike Vinkuna. So we always look at someone to pay. Yeah, because the first question is also the first question is always who will pay for this. Yeah. About the root cause and whatnot, that's online. But on ground, we usually just look for who will be held accountable.
That is true. It's happening in most of an organization, and we blame it on leadership. Are we in positions of leadership? How can we start small from our departments, from the people we lead? Because I'm sure most of you are line managers, probably your supervisors at your own level or rights. I'll even bring it back home. What happens? I believe maybe majority of us are parents, and especially also parents of teenagers. When those grades drop, what is our first reaction as parents? When your son or your daughter come back home with grades that have significantly dropped, what is our first reaction? Let me hear. Let's be candid. What is our first reaction? Deborah?
I get very mad. And then after digesting, I will call my son and try to get what the problem is. Unlike other terms that maybe he has had good grades. But you find that identifying the problem will be easy But understanding the problem, we may not reason together. Now, I'm talking as a parent now.
That is true. That is very true. You might
so
see. Continue.
So the first one will be easy, but the second one might not be easy because I want things done my way. And I want him to meet my objective, not his. So that is what the problem is. But now at a company level, the first three are easy to do, but the two last steps may not be easy because now this involves the management at large. You find that it might be costly. Sometimes it's not well received. Sometimes politics will be played and all that.
That is very true. That's very true, Deborah. We will understand the grades have gone down, but reasoning and understanding, you want to take the blame to the child. You must have played. Probably we could have contributed. So if actually we were to control ourselves and look at it, so is it, so what I'm picking, even what happens in our organization, I look at it, the people we have in our organizations are product of the society that we have, right from our home. From our societies and our community, these are people who transit to the workplaces. And when we get into positions of leadership and power gets into our head, then the story changes and we start looking for blame games. So that's very good, Deborah. So identification of the problem is very easy. Owning the problem and trying to understand is where people don't reason together. And that brings me to the topic, the other issue that was discussed yesterday. How do you constitute members of the team that is going to deal with a problem? And the way we constitute them, is it that we want to have critical thinkers who will look for a solution that will give us a sustainable solution and not looking at the blame games? Let's share other experiences that we have. Is it all lost or there is hope? And can we start it in a small way? From people who even report to us. Let me hear your contributions. It is very true what we are saying. And I can't agree more. You can put them in the chat. I'll read them. So that's fair enough. So I'll proceed to the next item, which we are trying to see. How can we use, I want to make it very simple and bring it probably at a very personal level in our individual life, not just from organization level, because we learn so that we can improve, we can grow. So we'll look at how can we use root cause analysis to boost our productivity. This will be at an organizational level, probably at our professional level, and also at our personal level when you're doing when you're doing yourself in your own life, private life. So let's see. So we're going to look at some of the processes, again, 5 of them, the 5 steps that you'll have that will keep your productivity at the maximum. I know for every individual, every organization, what we purpose to do or what we really desire is to ensure that our productivity is at its maximum. So we say it's very important to keep your productivity at your maximum in whatever profession you might be. And we're saying root cause analysis, as technical it may sound, and impractical as it may sound, can help you boost productivity, but by identifying the root causes that hamper. What are some of the things that hamper your productivity, your efficiency? And we are going to look at it in 5 steps. And we are going also to relate it to the root cause analysis. So the 5 steps that we have will be, first will be to maintain a log of your task for a week. let's relate it to this case of Peter versus Rick. If Rick had maintained a log of his tasks for a week, from Monday, I look at it from a week, from Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday for those people who work on Saturday. Everything that you do from morning to the evening, if you are to maintain that log of the task, however small they are, it will make you more effective and efficient. There is the power of having a routine in every day you do. When you wake up in the morning, what is it that you do? Do you wake up and pray? After that, do you go take a shower? Do you do exercises? Do you do maybe some form of meditation or maybe journaling? How do you plan your day before you start your day? What is the first thing that you do in the morning when you arrive at your office, and what time do you leave home so that you get to your workplace? Maybe early before the traffic, depending on the road that you stay. So when you take an inventory of your task and maintain a clear log for a particular week, it is likely to boost your productivity and also in your efficiency, even in terms of the personal life. If there are issues like you do your shopping once in a week, do you plan for your shopping so that you can maintain your expenses and your expenditure? Or you just wake up one day and say, it looks like a bright Friday, I'm going for a shopping spree. And anything that looks attractive as you do the window shopping, you buy. So the first thing would be to maintain a log of your task for a week. So we say, make a list of all the tasks and the activities that you do. List the time that you'd require to complete each task and activity. And lists will help you get a true picture of how your work week looks like. Probably wake up in the morning, you have to make breakfast, are there jobs that you are doing that are taking a lot of your work, but they are not giving you a good return, or maybe they're just a waste of your time. So the first step is maintain a log of your tasks for a week. Then the second step will be analyze your task. You have taken a stock of a week, probably in a month. You can decide, I'll do for 1 week, for a month, for 2 months, for 3 months. Then you sit back and see that log that you have made. Now you analyze the tasks that you are doing. You categorize them into what are the high priority and what are the low priorities. What are the things that I must be done or I must do personally that will yield high results in what you're trying to pick? Or what are the low priority tasks that I don't have to do it, or I don't have to do it myself? So we say the high priority tasks are your core jobs, those that you produce a return, and where those which only you have the skills to perform and cannot delegate. Even as women, we know there are those roles that you cannot delegate. There are those ones that needs your personal touch and you have to do. But there are those ones that we can delegate even to our house managers and the people that we have. Then even in the workplace, if you're a supervisor, or maybe you have at your disposal some support staff, what are these tasks that you must do? And what are some of the other low priority tasks that you say, this can be delegated? I just need to build a capacity of a particular person and delegate them so that they don't take much of your time. Then we are saying low priority tasks are menu jobs that others can do on your behalf and hence can be delegated to support staff. Then we are saying observe and notice how much time you actually spend on such low priority. You might see in a day, you spend 5 hours trying to do menu activities that could be delegated, and probably they don't give you much return, or they don't mean much in terms of what you measure at the end of the day. Then keeping in tab on such non-productive activities will help you get rid of the time wasted on such, so that you can focus your time on the key priority and high return activities. That is the step 2. So we said step 1, maintain a log of your tasks for a week. Then analyze these tasks and classify them as high priority and low priority and determine the ones that you can delegate and the ones that are non-delegatable. We also need to understand that we can only delegate the responsibility, but the accountability has to remain with you. So we cannot delegate accountability, but we delegate the responsibility. Then after you analyze your task, take a log, analyze, then you delegate the non-productive activities. We are saying the next step is to delegate as many low priority tasks as possible to the others. We actually acknowledge that as much as we have some low priority tasks, not all of them can be delegated. Some you need to actually retain. And we are saying we may ensure that the people you're going to delegate with, you train them so that they are able to perform them into your expected standard. So if there is any need for training, you do the training on them, completing the delegated task. Then we say, avoid being tempted to go back. We all have this tendency that you have delegated that, but once in a while, you feel like now you're feeling powerless, or maybe you feel you want to take them back. So we are saying, avoid being tempted to take back the unproductive activities because they'll come and just clog your system and your time. Then number 4, we said, calculate the time required for the remaining low priority tasks. I said, you cannot delegate all the low priority tasks. The ones that you have to retain, how much time do they consume? And you want them to pack them into chunks in such a way, the low priority tasks that are low yielding, you actually dedicate specific time of the day that you're going to deal with them so that you can free much of your time and have the major high priority and core jobs with sufficient times that you are able to do. So just create specific time in a day or in a week that you complete this low priority so that they don't actually take much time of your high priority. And finally, you prioritize your remaining core tasks. After you've had the low and the high priority, now the core jobs that are remaining, that are really core to you, that you say, this 20% of the tasks that I do every day, they're likely to yield, according to the 80-20 rule, 80% of your output or the results. So these are the tasks that you are likely to, and you should be able to concentrate with. So we are saying now turn your attention to the tasks that are productive and bring the most reward. Prioritize your task and concentrate most of your time on the few high priority tasks. And I always say, as like women, we really like multitasking. But I wish in the high priority task, you are able to allocate sufficient time and deal with one activity at a time so that you can be able to concentrate and you get more results. We are saying delegated this task will help reduce your stress, do less work for greater returns. That's when you delegate the low productivity. So now you can implement the root cause analysis to achieve a success in life, maximizing your productivity, better time management. So you can see the way we have looked at the root cause analysis in terms of maximizing your productivity. So we have the root cause analysis here is, what are the tasks that I do? Which are the high priority? What are the low priority? How do I delegate? What do I focus on? How do I allocate time? So that's how we've looked at it. So just a question to us, did we know that majority of the root cause are hidden in the system and can be found through research? So we need to really study widely, do research, and can be controlled by management, the way we manage time management, quality management, how we manage our people, how we manage our tasks, and can be removed through improvement, whether gradual improvement or small improvement. So we just have a question that is just to jog our mind. And the multiple choice question here is, I want someone to answer for me just to ensure that we are there. And he's saying, which of the following is the first step for the RCA process? We talked about the 5 processes. Take corrective action steps, take immediate action steps, specify the problem situation, or understand the problem situation. So which one is the first step in this multiple? Let's have someone trying that. We really emphasize on these steps. Which one? Let me hear. Is it A? Is it B? That's Joseph Nganga, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly. That's Duncan.
Yeah, specify the problem situation.
Good. We just did that. So let me hear contribution, comment. That's the correct answer. Duncan, you got it right before we move to the next topic. Let me see. Let me hear your comments. And especially on that, maximizing our productivity at our personal life, at the workplace, and also drilling. So you just pick one topic and say, how can I go to the root cause of the problem? I've not been productive. I've not been making good results. What is stealing my time? Where is my time going? How comes I'm not able? So when you drill maybe how you use your day, how you use your week, how you spend your time, you're able to improve. Can we have another live example of where we can apply the root cause analysis? Let's have open discussion on this. What do people think? Do you think that time management works? Do you think it will improve your productivity?
Hey, Rhoda, this is Catherine.
Yes, Catherine.
So yeah, this is beautifully put, and this is how I do it in the office. I think if you look at it elsewhere, maybe you could use it, for example, for a mom who's managing her home. This can be used. It can be used on a business. It really, these steps can be used in various areas of our lives. Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine. Let's hear from someone else. Actually, for us ladies, you can tell we use a lot of that in our homes, how we manage our times, because multitasking and you're the mother, you're the wife, you're this employee, you're a sister, you need to go to the market. This really helps us. Even the way you organize your homes, are there things that you can delegate, or do you have to do everything? Let me hear some other examples. Joseph, we've not heard from you today. And Janet. Joseph, your mic is on, but we can't hear you. All right. So now we can proceed. Let me look at the chats. If there are comments that are coming in, then we can be able to proceed. I think I see none. So we can carry on from there. So that is the correct answer. And so the next thing we are going to look at, we will look at, now we go to the tools for root cause analysis. I know yesterday they were alluded to, and in this course, we are going to look at 3 tools for root cause analysis. When you're doing the root cause analysis, what are some of the tools that we normally use to carry out this? So we will look at them in depth. I know Catherine mentioned them at very high level, but now here we are going to look at them in terms of how are they used in the root cause analysis. So we say researchers have developed various tools and techniques for conducting root cause analysis, and we are going to look at the 3 key tools, or the commonly known tools. So the first one is the 5 why technique. And then we are going to look at the Pareto analysis, and we're also going to look at the cause-effect diagram and fishbone. So let's jog our mind from yesterday and the other day's conversations that we had. There was a mention for those who attended, and I understand most of you didn't attend, the 5 why techniques. Anybody who can remember or have heard about this technique of root cause analysis, tell us what is your understanding of the 5 why technique, what it means. The 5 why technique. It was mentioned yesterday, the day before. Or what is your understanding about the 5 why technique of problem solving? And in this aspect, we are going to look at it, how we use it for as a technique for root cause analysis. The 5 why. We are going to look at it in details and we are going to give live examples. The 5 why technique, anyone?
Rhoda?
Yes, Polycarp.
So 5 why is a technique where you ask you ask why 5 times, and each is a development to another.
Great. That one, the preceding answer forms the next question. So do the questions have to be 5? The whys, can you go beyond 5? That's the other question. Can you go beyond 5 why, or once you hit the 5th, you are good to go? Let's hear. Can we do more than 5? Someone else? The 5 why technique. You're very quiet today. What's happening? I asked, can we go beyond 5? It's a yes or a no question. Let's see, yes, no. How many think you can go more than 5? How many think the technique should be restricted to 5?
I think you can go more than 5.
Someone says we can go more than 5. And would you expound why you think you could go more than 5?
I'd say the objective is to get the root cause. So if by the 5th why you've not attained or reached out to your root cause, why not proceed?
That's very correct. So let's look at the next one. The other technique that we're looking at is the Pareto. What is your understanding by Pareto analysis? Someone explain that.
We can get a low message. We change whatever. Okay, if they still
Joseph, kindly mute. Joseph, if you're able, kindly mute. Thank you. So the Pareto is the next technique that we have. Someone talked about the Pareto analysis as a technique of root cause analysis or problem solving, as it were, alluded yesterday. Pareto
so,
analysis.
The Pareto I'm familiar with is not for as aimed to RCA. It's an operational engagement where it is assumed that 20% of input or 20% of actions lead to the 80% of output.
It is related.
Yeah, so at operational level, we push our guys to increase the input, which would directly increase the output. That's
great. That's very great. Then the last one is the cause effect diagram, or what we call the fishbone diagram, in terms of the problem solving or the RCA. Someone else apart from Polycarp? Cause effect diagram or the fishbone diagram. Mentioned again in the problem solving skills, and we are going to look at it in the aspect of RCA. You can put your comments on the chat. I'll look at them. Your understanding of cause-effect diagram or the fishbone diagram. So we will study how this came about and how they are used, and we'll also give some examples as we continue. Great. So let's proceed, and we will look at one after the other, and this will take us up to tomorrow. So for today's session, probably I'll just introduce I'll just explain the five why technique, and we will do a case study, a real life example about that, and we will also try to establish in that case how we use it to identify the root causes and also to come up with the solution like the way we did in the case study. So again, this we'll also do it as practical as possible. Then for the Pareto principle, which is the Pareto analysis and the cause-effect diagram, it's quite wide. Probably that is where we will begin in our tomorrow's sessions. So let's look at in depth the 5 why technique. The 5 why techniques, we'll look at it as Polycarp has explained. It involves questioning. It is an investigative questioning where you keep on asking, why did this happen? I remember when we say the problem statement, we normally ask the one husband question and the 5 wives. That is, what happened? How did it happen? When did it happen? All those questions. But when we come now to the 5 why techniques, it is questioning where one question leads to an answer, and that answer now leads to the next question. And in a standard way, it is assumed by the time you go to the 5 question and you get an answer to that, you should have gotten to the root cause of the issue. However, as Polycarp expounded, we are not limited to the 5 questions. It's just the standard of why it has been named as 5 why technique. You can go beyond the 5 if actually the questions they are asking and the answers, they're leading to more causes and more issues. So until you get to the root cause, to the tip of the problem, so that when you deal with it exhaustively and does not recur again, then you are allowed to go beyond the 5 why questions. So why is it called the 5 why technique? Let's look at where it came from. When you're looking at the total quality or the quality standards improvement, a lot of it originated from Japan. And you'll see a lot of Japanese terms that are being used. And when you're studying the TQM as a topic, maybe in your other studies, whether you're doing your bachelor's degree, you're doing your master's degree, you're doing your PhD, anytime you discuss matters of quality control, improvement in quality and standards of the processes, process reengineering, business reengineering, you'll come across these terms. So what we are training today is just not for your personal life, it will be for your professional life and also your academic and also professional advancement. Again, I know for any HR, we all aspire to grow to leadership positions that are beyond HR because we are generalists or we are practitioners. We want to become the CEOs, the directors, people sitting in manufacturing industry, in production industries, in product development where decisions are made. Because when you sit in such tables of board, you may be picked because of your HR qualifications or maybe the other qualifications that you have, but you'll be making business decisions. And business decision, it is just about the profitability, the bottom line, the growth, the prosperity, and the sustainability of that organization, and also how you impact on the environment and the stakeholders. So we are saying the 5 why technique is also what is also known as the Gemba Gembutsu. The Gemba Gembutsu, it's a Japanese phrase, and it means place and information. So it is trying to look at where is this place we are, where did it happen, and what is the context in terms of all the information that is around it. So we are saying in the 5 why technique for root cause analysis, you have to ask a series of questions to identify the sequential causes of a failure that lead to the problem. You remember the first case study, we said there was an error, or people could not access the website. Why were people unable to access the website? The application server was low. Then we said, why was it down? Probably because there was high traffic. And what happened when there was high traffic? There were logs that clogged the system, and they had to be removed manually. And then we went and said, why were they not removed manually? Probably because Peter was not aware that he was supposed to remove them manually. Why was he not aware? Probably he was not trained, or he was not handed over properly. So one question leads to the other question. So we say it identifies the sequential cause of a failure that leads to the problem. So probably Peter was not the problem, but the other things that led into that. So we are saying, then the next you have to find the cause-effect failure path. So you look at what is the cause, how did it affect, and what is the failure path. One thing led to a particular failure. Maybe the non-clearance of the logs manually led to the clogging and the blocking of the system. Then the blocking of the system and the working, they made the server not accessible or not working or unavailable. So if the server of the application server was not available, that means the customers could not access the system and could not place their orders in terms of the merchandise they wanted to buy. So that's what we are saying. The next, you have to find the cost effect and the failure path. So you have to establish the entire path. So now you have to keep on asking the question, why? The why many questions to find each preceding trigger till you reach the root cause of the incident. It is one thing led to another, this other, and then you get to the root cause or the main cause of the issue. So we are saying we can use the 5 why technique effectively to handle a simple root cause analysis. As we gave an example of maybe our children who are in school, the issue is the grades drastically dropped. It's not by 10 points or 20 points. It must have dropped significantly to a worrying degree. So the next thing is, why did the grades drop? Probably he would say the exam was very hard, or I misunderstood the question. Then you'll say, was the exam only hard to you? Because maybe you're looking at the ranking comparable. When he tells you maybe the exam was so hard, I'm sure the next thing you'd want to know, how was the performance of the entire class? Was it just hard for your son or daughter, or was it hard for everyone? And if you realize it's actually only him who dropped, but every other kid improved. So you may ask the teacher, how was the performance of the class? How was the improvement? So if you find that it is actually not the exam that was hard, what was it? Is it that he didn't prepare well? Why didn't he prepare? What was affecting him? Did he have other extraneous issues that probably were affecting his concentration? What are the people, who are the other kids that he's hanging around with? Has he also been spending a lot of time maybe on the gadgets, the TV, the PS5 that you can't remove your kids from? What other activities has he engaged with? Is he being influenced by the peer pressure? Has he changed school? So you keep on drilling and asking why. Why has this? Until you get to the root cause of the issue. Then we are saying the 5 whys technique will help you to find the cause-effect relationship between the different parts of the problem. So you are able to know what is the cause of this and what has it affected, the cause effect. And then we say you can conduct a 5 whys technique for root cause analysis without using any elaborate worksheet. The beauty with this, it is what Catherine was calling explorative or inquisitive inquiry. You keep on asking because you want to know the details. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? What could we have done better? So it is a very simple tool that you don't need what you call the elaborate worksheet and the graphicals and maybe the systems or the diagram or the flowcharts. It just entails, it does not entail a lot of detailed investigation requiring many resources. So it is something that you can just do at the comfort of your office, and this can be applicable to any problem that may come at a home level, at an individual level, because you just need to drill down and understand, why did this happen? And that's why you want to see what can improve out of it. And we are saying it is a very simple and stress-free method to reach the root cause of a problem. Let's maybe just hear an example. Where have you used the 5 why technique? I know even when problems comes and you find yourself in a crisis, we normally ask, why did it happen to me? Why did it happen at this time? Why did it not turn out as I expected, yet I put a lot of effort in it? Have you ever found yourself in a situation, probably at a personal level, at a professional level, where you are asking, why? Even when by the time you're making a decision that you want to enroll for this course, the first thing is, why should I enroll for this course? Because I want to expand my knowledge. Why do I need to expand my knowledge? Is it because you want to expand your knowledge, or you want to get to your CPD points? And why do you want to get your CPD points? Probably because you want to renew your membership. And why do you want to renew your membership? Because you want to be relevant, you want to be compliant in your practice. Why do you need to be compliant in your practice? Why would you not just be a quack HR? Because you want to advance in your career and you want to get ahead of your career. Let's hear some other examples that we have where we have used the 5 why techniques in terms of looking at all this. Someone has said, in fact, this is a critical session because it helps you to know how to solve all current and emerging issues in the organization. That's why we are quiet so that we get the right answers through this session on how to tackle these issues faced by organization day in, day out. This is from Rose. Let's hear. Anywhere do you think you have, in terms of getting to the root cause, you have asked the question, why? Any? Practical? Yes, Joseph.
Yeah, for me, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
All right, okay, fine, thank you. I failed the other time because of I had a mic problem. Anyway, yes, this is very common for us as HR practitioners, especially it is quite common in my place of work when we have accidents. Sometimes we have accidents here for whatever reasons. We have various accidents, so we always go to the ground, find out what caused the accident, how did it happen, what can it be done to improve the situation, and all these kind of questions. We keep on asking such questions when an immediate accident happens. So it's a very good technique actually for us, and it's always often used here at workplace. Yeah.
Great. Deborah, from a finance perspective, if you're able to unmute your mic, please let us know. When the bottom line is not adding up, and then the MD asks you, how comes our profits have dipped? Do you use this technique to ask why? Is it the expenses that went up? Is it the cost that went up? Is it that the sales dropped? Do we normally use this in finance? Deborah, you said you're in finance. I don't know if she's is able to unmute, or anybody else who is in the operations or any other docket apart from HR. I know I'll come back to the HR practitioners. I think she's not able to unmute. So for the HR, the many HR practitioner, how do you use this technique? I remember Catherine asked a question that is disciplinary handling a problem-solving issue? Is disciplinary an issue? And in terms of why do we do disciplinary hearings and give people opportunity and a fair opportunity to be heard? So in terms of disciplinary management, discipline management, especially for disciplinary cases, do we apply the why technique? Do we always want to punish? Or do we at times want to get to the root cause of the issue? And what maybe in our workplace have we found to be some of the root causes of even disciplinary issues? Let's get an example. Give us a live example, like we were dealing with this case of alcoholism. We drill down in the disciplinary, for those who are privileged to sit in the disciplinary hearing committees. Let's hear, share experiences. The HR practitioners who are here. Catherine, you said you're in HR?
Yes, I'm in HR, and I do handle disciplinary cases. So for us, personally, I do not like taking employees through disciplinary. If I could do as much as possible for an employee not to go through that emotional turmoil of a disciplinary process, I would do. However, sometimes it's very necessary, and I try to explain that the disciplinary process, it's just part of corrective action, because you've been warned verbally, your manager has spoken to you, you're still not changing behavior. So now we have to do the process and give you a serious warning letter. So yeah, sometimes disciplinary is very necessary. Sometimes it's not really necessary, the process itself. Yeah.
Maureen has posted, she's saying, thank you very much, Catherine. She's saying she's in the gaming industry. When an employee does a mistake while dealing, we ask why, so that we understand if the training provided lacks, or if it's employees who is unable to grasp the content of the training. So we said it could also be a way of grilling, because someone might, what I've had even in disciplinary cases, for me, I approach disciplinary cases or maybe the hearing as a corrective measure, or maybe an opportunity for someone to be heard. At times, as you proceed with the hearing, you may get information, especially from the union or even from the employee, of maybe interpersonal relationship or maybe conflicts with the supervisors, because it is not always that the supervisors are right. At times we have very rogue, depending with the culture that you have and the environment, very rogue supervisors who actually would not even listen to employees, and one thing led to another. And there are reported cases, and when you listen to all these and you do your investigation, you actually come to find there are more underlying issues than what you see on the service. Especially even the cases of the people who have been faced with issues of alcoholism. I always tell my staff, alcoholism is a disease and it will never take you home. But the effects of that alcoholism on your workplace, it's what will take you home. Because you'll come one time, you are drunk, you are violent, you attack other people, you respond, you are unable to carry out your duties. Those are the things that will take home, not actually the challenge that you have. And when you listen to these people, especially also in counseling, you will find a lot of underlying issues that may be with that. Probably they're having family issues, they're having marital struggles, and maybe this may have pushed this employee to do this. So it is always good to ask, why do you think this is happening? Why do you think your supervisor is actually very hard on you compared to the other staff? So these are a lot of grilling questions that goes into the why, and they operate in this sphere. So let me see if there is any comment, then we can just proceed. And we are going to look at the 5 processes, the process of why, the process of the 5 why techniques, and we will look at each and every on them, the steps that you take. I see no comment, so we will just proceed. So in terms of the process of why, the 5 why technique, we say you use the 5 why techniques as follow to conduct the root cause analysis. So the first step we normally do is we start with the problem statement. I think that one we have already talked about when we looked at the 5 processes. So in any root cause analysis, you start with the definition of the problem and the problem statement of the problem that we are facing. And then once you do the problem statement and you ask why this happened, then you move to the next step. You say, then use the answer to the first why, the 5 question, why did it happen, and turn it into the second why question. I think Polycarp had explained this. Then when you come to the third step, the answer to the second why question then turns into the third why question, and then you progress. Then you repeat the steps you have, till you have asked at least 5. The minimum you can have is 5 whys. But remember, you can go beyond the 5 why question also till you reach the root cause of the problem. I think Polycarp had alluded to that, and we may not spend a lot of time on that slide. So now we go to real life examples. I said we are going to share some of the examples that we have when you're dealing with the 5 why techniques, and then how we apply them. So in the next few slides, we'll have a case study of the real life example. And we're going to look at a company called Rickson Food and a beverage company. And I think I'll ask one of us to just read for us the way I read the first case. We read slowly so that we can all understand. And I request that we follow so that we are able to actually come up with the identified root causes and also try to come up with solution the way we did in the first case study. Let's have a volunteer to read us through the next few slides, which is a case study. You read for us slowly, and the rest of us could listen. Can we have any volunteer who want to read for us? Anybody who is able to unmute, who can see my screen? I know we are all multitasking. Anne, are you able to take us through? Or Hortense? Just proceed. Take us through slowly.
Rickson Food and Beverages has several products in its product line, including different kinds of instant food as well as juices.
I move to the next slide.
Yeah. One of its most popular products is mixed fruit juice called Fresh Energy. Recently, there has been a rise in demand for fresh energy. However, Rickson has been unable to ship out 3 large shipments to retailers across the country. The failed shipments have caused Rickson to face huge losses. Nick Farrelton, the supply chain head, has been asked by Rickson's management to provide valid reasons as to why the shipments were not delivered. Nick knows that to be able to provide a satisfying answer and to get to the root cause of this problem, he would need to conduct a thorough analysis of the problem situation. Nick starts by asking the why questions for each problem and conduct the analysis as follows.
Let me hear from the rest. What are the 5 why questions you'd ask in that case? I take you back. We are saying the Rickson Company beverage has several products in product line, including different kind of instant food as well as juices. That's the background. Then one of the most popular product is mixed fruit juice called the Fresh Energy. Recently, there has been a rise in demand for fresh energy. However, Rickson, the company, has been unable to ship out 3 large shipments to retailers across the country. Failed shipment have caused Rickson huge losses. So what is the first why question we can ask here? Let me hear.
I would say, why are they unable to supply yeah.
First question is, why are they unable to supply?
Yes.
Or why they are unable to ship out the large shipment to retailers across the country. So let's look at them and how they're turning up and how NIC has. Now, you can imagine in our organization, when this happened, what is likely to happen? Someone say the ground is different. We could have asked this through a show cause letter to NIC because he's in charge of the supplies. Is that true? How many of us are sure this is what could have happened? Or how could we have called NIC for a conversation?
This is Catherine. I think, well, not for my organization, but I think management would start questioning NIC's competence as maybe the supply chain manager as to why he's not able to ship this good.
Thank you, Catherine. That's likely in our organization. So let's look at how he looks at it. So he starts asking the why questions for each problem and conducts the analysis as below. So the first why question, we'll have to look at 5. The first one was, why were 3 large shipments of fresh energy to retailers across the country not sent? Why? The answer he would give is because there was no stock for one of the key ingredients required to make fresh energy, so that the juice could not be made. You can see the first why. Why were the 3 shipments of fresh energy to retailers across the country not sent? And the reason is because there were no stock of any of the key ingredients that makes the juice, so the juice could not be made. The second question, why was there no stock of one of the key ingredients required to make the fresh? This guy didn't have anything to ship because the ingredient was not there in their stores. And the example is, why were there no stock of one of the key ingredients? Then the answer he has is because the last 2 shipments from the supplier of the ingredients was not received due to a problem at supplier's side, and there was no inventory kept of the ingredient at Rickson started following the just-in-time system of supply chain management. This is an organization that had just changed their cost system of the supply chain system, and they had implemented a new system called just-in-time, maybe to avoid having backlog or excess of stock. So this could have been one of the reasons. Then the other why question is, why did Rickson not order the ingredients from another supplier? And his answer is, there was no contracts in place for backup suppliers of the ingredients in place. The primary supplier fails to, in case the primary supplier fails to deliver. Another issue, they only had one supplier who was probably contracted, and they had a contract in place. So if this person failed, there was no backup plan. Then the other question that you have, the fourth one, why was the restocking of the ingredients not done earlier before reaching the 0 stock? And the answer was, the triggers for reordering the inventory has been set too late, as the new just-in-time system has just been implemented in Nixon since last few months, and people are not very adept at it. The stock was supposed to last for at least another 2 months. What other challenge do you see this? How would you deal with this? That the reason is the reorder levels were very low because the just-in-time system, people are still learning it. And the stock they had was ideally supposed to last for another 2 months. Any comments? We proceed. The other question is, why did the ingredient stock finish earlier than expected? Were there market dynamics that changed? And the answer was, due to high demand and sales of fresh energy owing to the extremely hot summer this year. So it is summer, the drink is moving very fast. So whatever they normally use on a monthly basis got exhausted before the time, because now it is a summer season. So in terms of, after the above analysis, NIC knows the root cause of the failure to deliver shipment to the retailer. NIC presents the causes and the possible solution to management of Rickson as follows. Let's hear 5 of the solutions that you could have given if you were NIC to those now causes that we have seen. He has identified 5, so we'll go one by one. And against each, I want to hear what would be the solution that you'll actually recommend to the management. So the first one, why were there large shipment of fresh energy to retailers across the country not sent? Because there was no stock of one of the key ingredients required to make fresh energy, so the juice could not be made. Can we have a solution to that? What would be your recommendation for that, this particular problem? You are moving one by one. Let me hear proposed solutions to this.
Probably should have a minimum stocks levels, set a minimum stock levels.
That is very true.
Yeah.
They should be able to set minimum stock levels so that they know at what point they should reorder. Thank you. And if it's set maybe too low, it should be enhanced. Any other comment? I want us to dissect.
Maybe they were not able to restock due to finances. So maybe they can get, they can speak to suppliers to give them stock on credit.
They should discuss with their suppliers so that they have a credit arrangement. Let's go to the next one. Then we hear from you. The other was, why was there no stock of one of the key ingredients required to make the fresh? Because the last 2 shipments from the suppliers of the ingredients were not received due to problems in the supplier side, and there was no inventory kept of the ingredients of Rickson started following just-in-time system of supply management. So here there was a new system of just-in-time. That was a change in the strategy. What would you think about that? The just-in-time kind of a system actually ensure that you deliver supplies just in time so that we don't have a lot of stock lying in the stores. What do you think we should do with this just-in-time system that has just been implemented in the organization?
I think we should readjust the time itself to have a bit of a buffer.
The time.
The other bit would be to have an ingredients tracker per se. Yeah, that would be either red, amber, or green at a particular point.
Correct. Very good. So let's move to the next question. Why did Rickson not order ingredients from another supplier? If this supplier has failed, why would they not order from another? And actually, the procurement manager says they didn't have there was no other contract or a backup supplier in case the ingredients from the primary supplier fails to deliver or they are late. What are some of the recommendations you'll give to management?
Have an alternative supplier.
Alternative suppliers. And have contracts in place. So you have option B and C. Any other comments? Should we also maybe incorporate or include a clause of penalties where a supplier who is in a contractual agreement with you fails to deliver? Because you can see how much it has costed the organization. They have lost in terms of revenue, profitability will dip because of maybe the supplier not supplying. What are the fallback plans? And what are the mitigation? Someone has said they should also have second product with a different ingredients. That is for the same. And also consider self-produce the ingredients if it is possible. Let me hear more comments. All right, we've done it justice. So we move to the next question. Please feel free to interrupt if I move very fast. Then the other was, why was the restocking of the ingredients not done earlier before reaching the zero? And here, this is where we are saying the trigger for reordering the inventory has been set too late in the new system and has just been implemented since last few months, and people are not very adept to it. The stock was supposed to last for at least another 2 months, but we understand it didn't last for that. What are some of the solutions? Rose, your hand is up. Rose? Rose, I promoted you to the panelist so you could try to unmute and talk to us. Mudhoni, your hand is up.
For me, I would add that you see, this is a new system. So I think they should do a bit of awareness and campaign towards everybody integrating into the system so that they know the usage of this new system so that they are familiar. When
change management, that is change management. That is very true. We are managers in our organizations. We are trying to offer solutions. Let's not sit at the table and keep quiet. What solution would you come from it? Because that's what you're training you to be. That when such issues come, you should be able to participate and contribute in that discussion and say, why don't we look at this? These are the solutions? Because you're in that committee, though you are a HR practitioner.
I'm also seeing an issue maybe with the culture, because once you're in the business of manufacturing, you just know just-in-time system is not a system that will work for you. So who introduced the system? Who was involved in, was there involvement of people on the ground on introducing the system? So you can see maybe there's a culture problem in this organization where maybe a manager cannot speak up against senior management's ideas.
That is very true. I also observed the same, Catherine, because even some of the issues that are being directed to the supplies manager, are they not issues within his docket? Like who is supposed to recommend that we need to have one more contract or one more supplier, not just one, in case they fail? Who was supposed to draw this contract in the first place? Who was supposed to order, to monitor the reorder level? Is it the manufacturing? Is it the supplies? Probably the manufacturing could have dropped the ball and not ordered because the procurement will wait until now the requisition are raised. And there seems to be a blame game, but nobody taking the ownership of that. So I like that observation, which I concur with. Then, so that is true. So let's go to the next slide. And you're saying, why didn't the ingredient stock finish earlier than expected? What comes here? There is no proactiveness. We are saying it is because it is a summer season, and this is a fresh drink that is highly consumed, just like sodas. When do we have a high consumption of soda? Is it during winter or is it during summer? And are we prepared to have foreseen that during summer, maybe the production or actually the consumption of these ingredients is likely to actually be on the rise? And what did we do? Or when we say this will last us for 2 months, it is 2 months from January to December. Do we see any challenge here in terms of the focusing? Due to high demands and sales of the fresh ingredients owing to the extreme hot summer? Was someone keeping track of the cells and seeing them tipping? Let me just hear from you what you think. Rose, your hand is up. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any comment on that, and what would be your recommendation, especially in your marketing and sales department?
Well, in my view, if you look at the sentence there, it says the weather was extremely, it's like it was unusual. You know,
it was unusual.
Yeah, they are only, obviously every organization has predictions when they have high season, low seasons. But when there is a peculiarity of a particular year, then that you can't blame anybody as such. But then it is good to maybe, you know, look cases by cases and act on it. Now that they have a new system and a situation like this has arisen, then they can review the circumstances and change over quickly and allocate resources or, you know, to produce more. I think this was a peculiar situation, if you ask me, because of the sentence. I think, yeah, it was extreme. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I think that's true. It was maybe an unforeseen, probably a pattern that was different from the others. But let's look at how the case has gone in terms of the recommendations. So we said Nick presents the cause. Actually, this is his opinion, which I also agree. Our opinion is also very critical in terms of how we argue. But from the Nick's perspective, he presented the causes and the possible solution to management, as we are going to see. So we'll go to the next slide. So in terms of the causes, he looked at different aspects. So he looked at the management, how we manage our stock, our suppliers, and everybody, our time and our systems. He's also able to look at the materials, the ingredients. How do we manage this? And could that be a cause that lack of one ingredient could affect the shipment to the distributors? And then he'll also look at the methods. What are the methods used? Is it in the system? We can see the system they're using is just-in-time method. He has also looked at that is the method error. These causes could also have been caused by man negligence, maybe dropping the ball, not foreseeing, not forecasting. It could have also been human error. Then could have the cause be environmental, like someone has said, the environment drastically changed. It was unforeseen and it was not possible to accurately maybe forecast the high demands. So they could have been environmental causes, and they could have been machine challenges. Maybe the machines were down, maybe from the supplier side, or anything related to the processes and the machine and the manufacturing would have also been a cause. So he has split them into those 6 categories. And we will, when we come to how we draw graphs, we are going to see how we categorize the causes into different pillars so that we have different bars. So those are the main causes that are surrounding these cases. In terms of the root causes, let's just bounce back to what we have discussed. We just see how close they are. But I said all the answers are correct. We are trying to see the most probable. You remember the definition of the root cause analysis, where we were saying it is the most possible or the closest cause that we are looking for. So Nick could not have considered maybe some of the things that we have said, but they are still correct. So the first root cause was no stock of one of the key ingredients to make the fresh energy. Number 2, as the root was primary supplier failed to deliver the shipment of the ingredients on time as expected. So that was something that was beyond the internal controls. Then there was no inventory maintained for the ingredient as Rickson started following the just-in-time system of supply chain management. So those are the first 3 root causes. Then we look at 3 more. We are saying no contract was in place for backup suppliers of the ingredients if the primary supplier fails to deliver. Then the other root cause was trigger for the reordering of an inventory has been set too late as per the new just-in-time system. Then we are saying no forecast was done to predict the high demands and sales of fresh up owing to the extreme hot summer this year. Then in terms of the solution, he has come up with various solutions. So as we identify the problems that we have in the workplace, it should also be within our practice that we identify problems and we provide solutions. So we should be we should be problem solvers, or we should be solution-based kind of employees. So nominal amount of inventory stock should always be maintained for the key ingredients to make the fresh energy. Then we should have a backup suppliers ready to order the key ingredients if primary supplier fails to deliver the shipment on time as expected. This is drawing new contracts. Then we should tweak or make the existing just-in-time system more efficient, as someone had mentioned. Then in terms of another solution, we say we should be able to set triggers for reordering an inventory early to order restock before the ingredient gets stocked out. And then the other issue, we say you should use proper forecast analysis tool to predict the high demands and sales of fresh energy owing to the weather changes and demands, to be able to meet the rise in the demand in time in case they reoccur. Because I'm sure there are those dashboard that the sales people and the marketing people should actually be maintaining, and they should have been on a day, you know, when you maintain the daily logs maybe for a week. Within a week, you should be able to know there is a spike and ask the question, why is the spike? Is it because it's a hot? Someone actually should have foreseen this, because this is something that is delaying for a period of like 2 months. But by the first week, when you start seeing an increase in that, then you start questioning, why? Is it that the drink? Is it that we have more population? What could be? Is it that the people are on holiday? Those are some of the questions we should use when you're asking the 5 why in terms of the root cause. So even at any event that comes, before a problem comes, we should be proactive to ask why. And this can be applicable when you're resolving an issue or we are trying to understand also a pattern. We don't have to wait until a challenge or a problem arises. Why don't we become proactive and say, why do you think there is low uptake of this product and a high of this? So it should be used for both opportunity and also the issues of the threats that we are seeing. So we say, hence you can see how Nick could use the root cause analysis to get the root cause of the problem and find practical solutions to solve the problem. So we say the problems could also be an opportunity. Like here, the high demands becomes a problem. So you are caught off guard. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a negative incident that has happened. And I think with that, we have covered enough ground. And I see it's already 11 and we still have 30 minutes. I don't know what is your opinion, because if we start the Pareto analysis, we may not be able to cover, or maybe we could cover it halfway. It's quite elaborate, but I wanted to start a new topic on a new day on the Pareto. We are doing so well. So probably we could just give this opportunity to questions and answer, then we leave that for tomorrow. What is your opinion? I know we didn't take a break. Let me hear. It's at 11. We are supposed to end at 11:30, so we are still 20 minutes ahead of time. We could ask any clarification, any questions, any discussions we can have so that we can start on the big topic of Pareto analysis tomorrow, because we want to drill down into what Pareto analysis is in terms of the root cause analysis so that we can be able to understand the entire process. It's a full process of about 14 steps. We have the tips, then we look at the phases of the Pareto analysis, which are about 4 phases, before then we move to the next technique, which is the fishbone diagram. Let me hear from you. I want it to be democratic, what people should think. Should we embark on the next topic? Should we just do a critique of what we have done? Let me hear.
For me, I think it's okay, but I think the areas I would like you to look at, for me especially, I didn't get quite clearly which is the key area for establish the solutions in terms of the steps, the 5 steps we started. So I was capturing something, but because the most important area of the 5 steps, I would like you to go back a little bit when you have time, so that we can look at it a little bit more.
Yes, we have time. So that was the steps to conduct root cause analysis. Was that the point?
Yes.
Okay. So that is about. We will go back to slide 34. Is it the one for boosting productivity or the earlier ones? The one we were talking about, I specify the problem, understand the situation. These ones. I believe they are this.
Yes.
The steps for conducting root cause analysis.
Yes.
Yes, great. So here we can do a recap of that. It's good that we have it. We said there are 5 basic steps that you can follow when you are conducting root cause analysis. Actually, and if you don't get the steps right, then you're likely to actually. So the 5 steps we say, the first one is to specify the problem situation. This is the problem identification. Once you identify the problem, and we borrowed from what we say, some of the questions when you're doing any scientific or any research-based problem statement, we said you ask the question, what happened? Because you understand what has happened. Then you ask, how did it happen? Yes, this happened, but how did it happen? Then you ask, when did it happen? So you are likely to have a time scope when this happened. Like the case for Peter, was it Peter and the first case that we had, we were asking ourselves, in this case, the secondary server and the primary server, when did this problem of the website start? Did it start when he stepped out or a day after the log came? So you have to really understand what happened, how did it happen, when did it happen? Then you ask the question, why did it happen? And such questions, so that you are able to come up with a very clear problem statement. So once you define the problem in a smart way, let it be smart, let it be measurable, it has a time aspect, then you'll be able to understand what are we trying to solve, what is the problem. And we said you must have a clarity of the problem, because you may be solving something else which is not the cause. You may be trying to place a blame, yet it was a system issue. Then the next thing we say, you must understand the problem situation. So here you look at the facts and the information. Under what circumstances, under what context did this happen? Then once you actually understand how the problem occurred, you understand what the problem is, how it came about, you have all the facts and the information, how many people have not been served, how many have been served, when did the website come down, how has it affected our revenue? The next thing we said as step 3 is you take prompt action. We say taking prompt action is actually seeing what are the low-lying fruits in trying to solve this problem. What are the quick fixes that we can do so that the operations continue, or we pick the process up from where it stopped, as we are looking at the bigger picture. Then we said, after we do the quick fixes, or maybe we fix what could be fixed very fast for production to continue or for operations to resume, then you look at what are the preventive action, what are the preventive measures that we need to take so that we can be able to eliminate the root cause of the problem. Yes, once we have fixed the server, the website is back and everything, and the buyers are able to access the merchandise, we need to come and say, what caused this? Now the root cause. And how can we eliminate that happening? In this case, for the first case study, we said the manual removal of the logs, maybe on a daily basis, will actually keep the servers running, and the traffic will not block the system. So the preventive measures is if we continue doing those logs manually, then that will not recur. Again, is it possible that we have triggers that when these logs reach this, then they automatically delete from the system in the first case we had? So the preventive action steps that needs to be done, then we take them. In this case, for the handover, in case we need to list all the log, or you log all the tasks that are done on a daily basis, Peter could have been able to pick that every single morning he has to clear the log of the previous day. This could not have happened. So these are reduced into manuals. The process flow, how you do activity from one step to another, all the steps that needs to come to that process, so that and anybody who is going on leave will be able to take. If it's issue of the leave management that people have to take block leave, if the issue of the policies and the standards, then those preventive measures are put down so that we eliminate the root cause of the issue. Then finally, we said we need to establish the solution. And establishing the solution is where we said the buy-in, the culture and the environment actually determine the success of any root cause of the root cause analysis, because we may have a task force that have been assigned to do a particular job, like let's say this case for the procurement, and we give our recommendations and our solution to those issues. What if the management is not listening, or they are not willing, or they are not establishing those structures? The same thing that we recur. We have said the issue of we should have more than one suppliers in terms of when you are doing the suppliers, and a contract has to be executed. Probably the procurement manager may not have the capacity to execute. The legal, maybe department has to draw a contract, and they have to look for another supplier, and that has to be put in their records. So if this what he has proposed are not entrenched and mainstreamed in the organization, then the whole process of the root cause analysis may not be effective and may not yield any results. Again, if there are any rules, any standards that need to be set, any policies that need to be put in place, approved and implemented, if they are not done, then the problem is likely to recur. So those are the 5 steps we looked at. So specify the problem situation. And we said in terms of defining the problem, we need to be specific. The problem needs to be measurable so that we know whether we are achieving what we intended to do or not. It must be action-oriented. It must be realistic and have timelines. Then we said the next step was to understand the problem situation. And we said we use the real data, and we are realistic, and we collect data from the problem owners, the people who have interacted with this. And then the third one, take prompt action steps, and then take preventive action steps. And finally, we said establish the solution. The solution that we have found, we said this is where many organizations drop the ball. If you don't implement the solution, you don't mainstream them, you don't establish them in terms of the rules, the standards, the process engineering, and the policies, then the whole thing is likely to collapse, and we are likely to have a recurrence, which is not now long-term. We'll just be firefighting. I hope that is clear now.
Sure, thank you very much.
Yeah. So let's see another point that you need us to refer back, so that tomorrow, once we go into the technique, the other technique. So today we have only covered one technique of the root cause analysis, which is the 5 why. So tomorrow we are going to look at what you're calling the Pareto analysis, or the Pareto principle, which is called also the 80-20 rule. And then thereafter, we are going to look at the last one, which is the fishbowl, or the cause effect principle. So again, we will look at it in depth. We are going to have case studies. We are going to look at examples so that we can be able to take it back to the workplace. Let me hear any other comments, any point of clarification that you may have missed. Let me hear from, do you think it has been helpful? Do you think we have taken anything? And probably as we close, what is one thing that you'll take home today on day one of the root cause analysis? Is it meeting your expectation? What is it that you want to hear tomorrow? Let me hear all this from you so that we are able to prepare for tomorrow again. We still have 10 minutes. It's your time. Any place that you think I should revisit for clarity? Mm-hmm. Silence means we are good. Yes, Deborah?
For me, I'm good.
You're good.
Yeah.
So with that, maybe I'll ask one of us to close our today's session with a word of prayer. Then tomorrow we meet. I'll urge all of us. I know some people joined in late. We can start exactly at 8:30 so that we are able to finish on time. But before we do that, there is a comment. Thank you, Mwalimu. That's Lucille. That's okay. Thank you. And thank you for your participation. So let's have a volunteer to close for us with a word of prayer. I opened for us so that I know we have other activities we want to deal with, and we meet tomorrow at 8:30. It's always good to commit for the next part of your day to God and to thank Him for this far He has brought us. Anyone? Let's have a volunteer. Alice, would you want to close for us? Alice?
Let's pray.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay. Thank you, Lord, for the session that we just had. And we also commit the session that we are going to have tomorrow into your hands. Everything that we learned today and that which we are going to learn tomorrow, enable us, oh God, that we put it into practice in our areas of career growth and development. And Father, when you see all this, shall not forget to thank you. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. So thank you, and I wish you a blessed day ahead as you peek into the afternoon, or the best. We meet tomorrow at 8:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.